God, Chris, what's taking so long?
Hey, everybody, this is Melissa, and you're listening to Life in Progress Radio. I'm joined with Kirk and Megan, and unfortunately, we are one short tonight. We are short our Sean. We're Sean shorted. He's working on some very important business, progressing his life. So we wish him luck on his big interview tomorrow. So, how are you guys doing on this Thursday night?
Very good.
Exhausted.
Exhausted?
Yeah, I'm exhausted tonight. I've been up since 2:30 this morning.
AM? Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yep. I had to drive to Albany and then back and had a meeting and all
that makes for a long day.
Yes.
Go, go, go. So I do not have an update from last week's episode. Actually, we did it 2 weeks in a row with the woman who her husband had a daughter that he never met before. And you can go back to the other episodes and listen, but we don't have an update on that yet. But what I was thinking of talking about or starting the show off tonight is with parenting. And we have some questions about how to keep in touch with your children when they're going to school and how to get them to open up. Somebody brought it up a couple of weeks ago about having conversations with your children, especially after school. Instead of asking yes or no questions, it's better to ask open questions. My son brought home this pamphlet when he first started school this year, and it just gives a list of open questions instead of how was your day? Did you have a good day? Ask, let's see what you brought home. Show me what you have for homework. Describe a book you enjoyed today. And then I just expanded it to, what made you laugh today? What was your favorite part of the day? And that actually seems to work, because when I was asking those yes or no questions, I would get hit with, I don't know, Mom. I don't know, Mom.
Yeah, short clip answers.
Yes, I get the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
I've got to dig and pry. Max, from the time he could talk going to preschool, and it's funny to this day, if you ask him, what'd you learn today? Lessons and numbers, because it became a joke, because he said it for an entire year, to the point that if anybody asked him, friends, family, what'd you learn today? Lessons and numbers. And he gets the sly look on his face, and he still does it just to get a reaction.
Oh, yeah. If you have your kid's schedule, you can say, well, what did you learn in social studies today? And it actually, for me anyway, it took practice, because I would say, so what did you learn in social studies today? Anything good? So I would start with an open question, and then I end it with a closed question, like yes or no. So it actually takes, for me anyway, it takes practice to work on those questions to where they actually want to talk, or, and then start out with asking them about their friends or recess or something that they do enjoy. And then maybe they'll gradually flow with the conversation.
I've been trying to, when Max is working on his homework, actually sit somewhere near him. And I find he'll read out loud, which I actually like, because then I know, because tonight he was actually, one of his reading papers he's working on for tomorrow was about Congress. Of course, I got this big smile on my face and started laughing. And I'm like, okay, we're going to have a conversation when this is over, because I don't like what that paper says, because it's not all true. And that being involved, being a part of your child's education, because, we don't necessarily, I'm not on board with a lot of what they're learning in public school.
No, you got to teach them to question everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fortunately, by the grace of God, we were able to homeschool both of our kids, and so
That's,
they're both grown now, and yeah, so we were able
Very
to
lucky.
watch what. Yeah,
that's awesome. I was able to, meaning I stayed home, but I didn't have the patience to. I have a very, um, I don't think I'm built for that. My son has a very strong personality, and I couldn't reel him in. And I mean, we fight all the time, but I know, Kirk, your wife, she's pretty strong. She's pretty,
yeah, and
she's pretty strong headed.
both of our kids are too. I mean, they're very set, because again, we wanted to make sure that our kids weren't just parroting what we say.
Hmm.
We would give them the information, give them the both sides, and let them, decide using their own, thought processes or whatever, what they were going to see. Now, New York State's weird or different or whatever, because you have to take tests, New York State tests or whatever, for the homeschool kids and stuff like that. And again, I don't have a problem with like the reading, writing, arithmetic stuff or whatever, but it was very odd, some of the questions that they would ask when it dealt with, politics and stuff like that. It was very
Civics. Yeah.
it was very
Mhm.
weird.
So were you able in homeschooling, were you able to teach your kids how to think and not what to think?
Right.
That's
Yep.
perfect.
And that's right. And that's exactly, because again, we want them to have their own mind. We don't want them to just be, we want them to have the same morals and principles, I think, that we think are prudent,
Mhm.
but eventually you let your kids go anyway, and they have to make their own life.
Right. Yeah. Teach them to discern where the information comes from. Like, not everything that a person in authority says is the right thing or correct. You need to think about it. And it's kind of like, not everything you see on a commercial is true. I mean, just because it's on TV doesn't mean it's
Right.
fact.
And
Oh,
Jessica was a great devil's advocate, because she would argue both points, because they would say, we would ask, what do you feel about this? Or what do you think about this? And they would give their philosophy or whatever, and then she would go counterpoint with them,
Mhm.
and again, she's very strong, mentally.
She's fierce.
Oh, she is very fierce. Yep.
I love her. I do. And when we were talking about homework earlier, I am definitely not the best parent. 'Cause I told you there was no way I would successfully be able to homeschool my son. I mean, yeah, I don't mean to speak in absolutes or superlatives, but I even, because we don't live in a kid-friendly neighborhood and he's an only child, I let him go to aftercare almost every day, not every day, but mostly every day, especially when I know he has a lot of homework, like Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, because he does his homework there. And then he could play and run around with, his peers. So to me, that's, kind of a lot better than hanging out with mom too much.
Well, and again, I think the stigma behind the homeschooling things changed anyway, because like we
It
were part
has.
of a group of, and the group would change, because families would find other groups or whatever, and you would work and find what worked for you. But our core group that's pretty much stuck together, I mean, we would do like a camping trip once a year and spend like a week or 2 weeks with, you know from the time the kids were like 5 and 6, till now.
That's great, because homeschooling's come a long way. And I don't think the general public understands it. They still look at some people still look at homeschooling like, they're antisocial or
Right, they have
like,
no social skills.
and
is
that's
what
not
it
the
exactly.
is,
case
right.
anymore at all.
No.
Oh no.
Especially with social media, there's so many different support groups, and I know a lot of people who do homeschool and through church and different organization and groups. They have several functions and they organize group activities. They go shopping together. They go to events together. And when I say shopping, they go shopping, you know, the right way, teaching kids a budget and, how to plan for meals and how to
So they
plan
do
for.
real
So,
life.
yeah, so actually some of the groups and the support groups that are out there for homeschool parents and for homeschool kids, because I actually know some kids who are like mid to late teenagers that are actually homeschooled, that are part of groups and part of things that they go to do and participate in. So Melissa, I'm with you. I don't feel that I struggle. I would love to be able to homeschool. I don't know, in the day and age of the different cyber schools now, I think I could manage if I found the right, like, cyber academy to be a part of that, but,
Hmm.
and I've always truly believed that, and this is where I think public schools are falling apart, is that public education is just a supplement to the education they get at home, and the sad part of the reality is a lot of people feel it's a public education system to educate your child, and that is not the case.
No. What do you think about the Head Start program?
I I think the Head Start program is a great program, but then I've lived in different states, and it's different in different areas. I was very blessed and fortunate to be able to put my child in a Christian daycare that structured it as a preschool environment, that as the kids were ready, transitioned them into a preschool classroom, and then actually became accredited to offer a kindergarten program. So Max, when he started out, he was one of the youngest kids in his class when he started. I know most boys are held back a year, but he was ready to go. And if I would have held him back a year, it would have been a bad idea. He'd ended up being bored, and it would have been
Board.
probably a bad result.
Yep.
So
His birthday's in June, right?
June, yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so that makes sense. It's totally
Couple days
different than when I
away.
was a kid. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, our boys, because what? Yours, Sean's, and mine are boom, 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 3 days in a row, aren't they?
Hmm. Yep. I know. At some point, we got to get together and have a boy's birthday party. We need to go
Absolutely.
to Wolf Creek. Never been. But anyway, before we started the show, Megan, you were talking about the most important minutes, and I never heard of that. So can you
It's an
tell me about
article
that?
it's an article I read recently, or somebody posted, about the most crucial minutes in your child's day are the first few minutes when they get up in the morning, the first few minutes when you either pick them up from school or when they get off the bus, or, and then the last few crucial few minutes are the last few minutes before they go to bed, and I can see since I read that, have changed a little bit about the way I do things and handle things, and I believe that I can see a difference, and I can see a difference in my child when I make the time immediately when he gets home versus when I'm busy and I'm like, "Hey, give me a couple minutes out," I hate having to do that to him, but sometimes I'm still working and I have to put him off when he comes through the door, and I hate that.
So how so? What do you mean? What do you do in those minutes that are crucial? What do you try to establish a connection or just conversation or a hug? I mean,
Well,
what is the important part?
usually when he comes in, a hug, and God bless my child, he's like, "Mom, how was your day? How was work?" He is always. So we talk about his day, his friends, what did they do? What did he eat? Because then I always get to call, I love the, BS calling Max, because I have the food app on my phone. I know what you ate for lunch. And I know
Y-
about the ice cream you bought afterward.
Your son, no, your son is really advanced as far as his social skills. That's a lot of empathy for a child his age, because my kid really doesn't care what I did all day unless I bought him something.
Max has always he's a unique child because he's always gravitated towards the older kids and towards adults. He's that kid who, I've told you guys about Mr. Bill, who is the greeter at Sam's Club, who
Hmm.
an older gentleman who's been there as long as we've known, and we go to Sam's now. He goes right up, hugs Mr. Bill, he hangs out with him. I go shop and I come back, and the two of them sit and talk for an hour, and I love it. But Max is that person that gravitates towards adults because
Hmm.
he wants to be in the middle of everything, and he has very grown up conversations. But I said he's a very versatile kid, where if you look at his Netflix playlist, he'll watch hours of World War II in color, and then he'll watch 2 hours of Magic School Bus. It makes no sense, but he's watching educational, so I can't complain.
Right. Wow, that's sweet. So, okay, run that dough again. So there are three times of the day
First
that
thing in
are
the morning.
mm-hmm. First
And
thing in the
that's,
morning.
yep. And even there's times where he gets himself up in the morning and I struggle to get up, but I always make sure when I hear him come down the stairs, I always yell and tell him good morning. And sometimes he'll come in and see me and sometimes he doesn't, but I always make sure that for the mornings I'm struggling to get up, that as soon as I get up, even though he may have been up for a few minutes, I've acknowledged him when he was coming down the stairs. So he heard me. And then I go out and hug him, talk to him for a few minutes, before we get our day started. And, kind of, we have a routine that we kind of stick with. And then at night, tonight's our exception because while we're doing the show, he will put himself to bed because I went upstairs.
Really?
He's in bed with his iPad and he knows actually in 2 minutes, he will shut his iPad off. He will turn the light out and he will go to sleep. And as soon as we end the show, I'll go up. He'll be sound asleep. I'm lucky.
You are. Okay. So everybody here on the show, we all have boys.
Yes.
Just for perspective, what are the ages? My boy is 9. How old is yours, Megan?
8.
Kirk?
19 and 17.
Wow. Do your boys still put themselves to bed? Kirk?
Yeah. And we
Okay.
were always very lenient anyway with bedtimes, even homeschooling or whatever, they knew what they had to get done. And we were never really strict on, you have to be in bed by such and such time. And, they're both working now. They'll get up in the morning, and the youngest, he's struggled with going to bed at 2 a.m. and then getting up at 9 and being at work, and he realizes that he's shooting himself in the foot, by doing that. It just makes the day longer and more stressful or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
you get crankier when you don't get your sleep. Well, that's just
and that's
me.
the one thing that we pointed out or said to them is, listen, you can stay up as late as you want. We don't have an issue with that, but you're not going to be jerks the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to rein in, your frustration or whatever, because that's showing you that there's a discrepancy there, so you can stay up, but you're not going to be jerks the next day.
Yes, absolutely.
Do your kids do your kids make their own breakfast, or do you do it for them?
No, they make their own breakfast.
Megan?
A little bit of both. I usually on school mornings, I always make him breakfast before school. There's times where he'll go ahead and get a bagel or do something himself. On the weekends, I make breakfast a lot, but he will help, or a lot of times he'll ask, if he's hungry and he doesn't feel like waiting or he wants something, he'll just yell that he's getting it or ask, can he go get it? And he gets whatever he wants. So.
And how important do you guys think, I know there's studies out there, but how important is sitting down at the table for one meal a day? I know for a long time they said dinner, but I guess it's any meal of the day, at least once a day, to sit down with your kids and talk.
Oh, I think it's so important to spend at least one meal sitting. That's why I try to sit with him or nearby when he's doing his homework too, because anytime that I can spend where we're in close proximity, there's times where he'll have his iPad, I'll be working on something, he'll come and hang out with me, even when I'm working, because I work from home some, we're in close proximity and hang out so that we can, we're still together, we talk, we interact. But sitting down at a meal, I think is very important, and turning off the TV, putting the phones away. We're all bad about that.
Do you let Max have a cell phone?
He has, and it's funny because I actually just got my good night message. He has an iPad. So if he is on Wi-Fi, he can text me. He does not have a cell phone. He has an iPad, and I'm good with that because he's at an age where I do leave him at home for periods of time. He knows what to do if something happens, and he knows that if I text him, I expect a response back, or if I FaceTime him, he better answer. So there's no need for him to have a cell phone. He does have access to what he needs if he needs it.
Mm-hmm. Kirk, what's your thoughts as far as family meals?
Yeah, we definitely do the family meals every night still. That's one of the things, excuse me, that's one of the things I told my work was I will come in and work as early as you want, but I'm home at dinner time. I'm home at dinner time with my family. And, barring exceptions, like if there's a movie or something that we're going to put in and watch or whatever, and even then we'll have dinner and watch a movie together or whatever. But yeah, as a rule, we're sitting down together at dinner and talking. There's no electronics. There's no, again, barring divine intervention or whatever. If Jessica's mother's getting in touch with her or whatever, then, and Jessica has a couple of friends. One's in Australia and one I think lives in Ohio, and they rarely get to meet or talk or whatever. And then that's an exception because she'll go talk with them or whatever. But other than that, yeah. And the cell phones, our kids didn't have a cell phone until they were old enough to go places on their own. And then it was like a lockdown cell phone.
What's a lockdown cell phone?
It was like just a regular flip phone. There was no internet access. It was just, they could call mom or dad. But if they would go bike riding, we have lots of bike trails and stuff like that around here and lots of creeks and stuff. So that's when we initially got them cell phones. They both have cell phones now, but that was,
oh yeah, they're
that was
older.
probably 3 years ago. I think they got, so it's like 15 and 17 or whatever.
Wow. You guys are exceptional parents, to say. I was thinking about getting, I really don't want him to have one, but I was thinking about getting him one just so he could, when he's at aftercare or if a basketball practice or something comes up suddenly, I don't drive to the school and then come back for nothing. It's kind of like my, kind of self-serving on my part. But because there's no bus, the school he goes to, there's no bus service. I have to take him and it's 8 miles away. So I don't want to go all the way out there, come back and then go, an hour later and he's like, well, Mom, if I had a phone, I could have just texted you, but I would do like what Kirk said. You called it a lockdown phone, like a flip phone with no
or whatever. Yeah. You can message, and call, but there's no,
no internet
access, none of that.
There's so many options and apps available out there through all the providers that when your child is ready, and different kids are ready at different ages, and different parents have different scenarios. You've got parents, every dynamic and every situation is different in justifying why, there are kids who need to have one. There's some parents who need, for various reasons, to be able to be in touch with their children. It's important. And phones, the programs and everything on the phones now, I have, if you ever dial 911 from my phone, I have it set up that a text message automatically goes out to say 911 was dialed and my GPS location of where it was dialed from. So whether I would have to call or if Max would have to pick up my phone and use to dial 911, there are two people that will get a text message with that information. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to protect your child and allow them to learn the responsibilities of having a phone, but without granting them all the accesses that we have as parents that, we take advantage of having.
And a lot of people don't know that even cell phones that aren't attached to any kind of service. So if you just bought it at Salvation Army or something like that, if you press and hold 9, it will dial 911, irregardless of whether there's
really, I didn't know that.
Or anything. Yep.
Phones that are obsolete. Yes. They a lot of times, so old phones can be donated to your local shelters or police stations because they will give them to families in crisis. So that if a lot of the, a friend of mine who is Amish, when her girls go away from home, they have an old cell phone that does not have service, but can dial 911 if necessary.
Well, that's awesome, guys. We're going to take a break and meet us out on the other side. We're having a good time. I left my body lying somewhere in the sands of time. But I watch the world float to the dark side of the moon. I feel there's nothing I can do. Yeah. think I have to let my dog in. She's freaking out.
Let Gilly on the show.
But she's gonna bark. We have people over, and as soon as they pull down the driveway, she's gonna look out the window and start barking. And it's usually when I'm in the middle of talking. Well, we'll try it, see what happens.
Ah, it's part of life.
Yeah. You want me to go, girl? Come on. Go ahead. No barking. Welcome back to Life in Progress, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming back, sticking around, and talking to Megan and Kirk. And we're just talking about parenting stuff today. I don't know if anybody wants to change up the conversation, but we were talking about cell phones and electronics. We haven't really gotten into electronics, and I know probably in the in media it might be talked about a lot or maybe too much, but do you think that we are over vigilant about our kids' access to the internet, or there's no such thing as too vigilant?
I think we have to be very cautious and very careful. I know I can trust my child with a lot of things, but I still check. I still double check. I still walk up behind him to see what he's doing, to find that he's watching doctors of the 16th and 17th century of the Black Plague. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but that's awesome that that's actually what he was watching. But no, I do. I monitor his history. I keep an eye on what he's doing. He does go to his room once in a while with his iPad. And like tonight, he's asleep now, but he took, he was laying in bed. I, spent time with him before I came downstairs to do this. But yeah, I keep an eye and I monitor and I talk about things, and there's things that he watches, things that he does, but we have open conversation, and I will make him put it down from time to time to actually have a conversation with him about the things that I'm hearing, the things that I'm observing, get his thoughts. Where's he coming from? What does he think about it? Because there's things that he watches that are, the kid loves World War II, so obviously he's watching a lot of things that are beyond his age level. So yeah, I try to be very aware and keep, and I don't lie to my child. I'm very, we watch TV programs, we watch movies. I talk about real life. I don't sugarcoat things. I tell him the truth about things. I tell him why I am so, the other night when I burned my hand, after we got everything under control, I use it as a learning opportunity. Do you understand why? Sometimes I get nasty. Sometimes I yell. Sometimes I growl. Sometimes I'm mean. There's a reason and a purpose, because I love you. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want something to happen to you. I'm very real with him about what's going on and of what's going on outside in the real world.
So, okay. So I think we're all in agreement. You know your kids and you know their maturity level, what they can handle and what they cannot. You don't need a book or a law to tell you that. You know, that's my thing. So what age, or have you talked to your son about sex yet?
He's aware of it.
Mark, have you talked to yours about it yet?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, of course we talked, but we were different anyway, only because like my wife and I, we never hid the fact that we love each other and we're married and we share each other's bodies, and you know, and that's right and that's appropriate. You know, I mean, we don't go into details or anything, you know.
Don't leave your bedroom door open is what you're saying.
No. Although a very funny story, probably when my son was maybe a year old, and he was like in like one of the swing things or whatever, and he was asleep. And so we actually had alone time, and he was actually in the room. And so we were going at it. And as we
with the swing noise gave you the rhythm,
swing, you know, and so we're just not even focused. He's out like a light, you know, he's 1 year old or whatever.
Oh, that's fine.
As we finish though, we hear and we look over and he
was laughing at you.
He's like, okay, well, swing's not in here anymore.
Yeah, because that's a mood enhancer.
Again, Jessica and I have always been touchy feely, and you know, I mean, I walk past and I pat her ass. You know, our kids know that, and we've explained. You know, we're married; it's appropriate. You know, you, and it's sad because we're part of a very, very conservative homeschool group. And it's fascinating to see like other parents, and especially like as the kids grew, it was very fascinating to watch, you know, because you have the helicopter parents, you have the parents that aren't the helicopter parents, you know, you have the parents that have the wild child that, you know, they're always concerned about, you know, because
the one that needs a leash.
You know, yeah, he's the one that's 30 foot up in a tree, you know.
He's going to grow up to be that one guy.
Right. You know, and it's very fascinating to see. But a lot of our very conservative, I would even say most of our very conservative family, like they don't even touch each other. They don't hold hands. They don't, like their kids don't see them like kiss. They don't. And it's shocking.
Is it because of their culture, or is it because of the state of their marriage, or it's just whatever?
And yeah, you know, because like Jessica and I have tried to analyze it, but again, we don't know what we don't know. So
yes, exactly.
You know, so I'm sure some parents are together because of the kids, you know, and so they're, you know, but it's very interesting to see.
Well, my grandparents that passed away a couple of years ago, they're old school Italian, New England family, but the old school Italians, they're not very affectionate. They are behind closed doors, but never in public, except for maybe holding hands. But my grandparents, my grandma and Poppy, I used to call them Nana and Poppy. I know they loved me so much, but I say, I love you, Nana. And she'd say, oh, that's nice. Yeah, me too. You know, they just weren't like that. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because Megan was talking about how to raise kids to be affectionate. We talked about this before the show. It was how to be affectionate in a society now that where you can even hug somebody, or a non-touching society, I think was how you put it.
Yeah, so I have a child who's he's a hugger. He's a very, very affectionate hugger. And you know, it's hard because we're in a world and an environment where that's a no-no. You don't touch, you don't hug, you see these crazy stories at school. he got in trouble last week because he smacked one of his friends on the butt at school. Had to have a conversation about that. And it's like, I know you guys are friends, you're buddies, I know you guys are just screwing around, but that is not acceptable at school. It's not acceptable behavior, and try to get an understanding, okay, you really shouldn't be smacking someone on the butt, but understanding boys are screwing around, they're playing whatever stupid, having a conversation with them and understanding why it happened, what's going on, and make sure it's not inappropriate behavior, but it's just kids screwing around. But it's sad. We live in a world where we do things now. I'm like, okay, don't say that at school. Don't say that at church. Don't
Mhm.
do that at school. Don't do that. Like the boys are playing and they're doing gun fingers and they're doing, you can't do that at school. They're running around the backyard with their toy guns playing army. You can't do that at school. And, trying to get them to understand what,
This is why we
it's
homeschool.
hard.
I was just going to
Yes.
say, Kirk, is that one of
Yes.
the benefits to where you can
Yeah.
let the boys be boys?
Yeah, because my kids both had lightsabers in their hands by the time they can walk,
Yes.
And we, they did the Nerf gun thing. They went to Nerf camp and played with other kids.
Nerf
with
camp.
Nerf.
That sounds awesome. I got to write that down.
Can we have
and then
Nerf,
as they got older,
Nerf
they
camp
did
for
Nerf-
adults?
Yeah.
Nerf camp, MojoCon 2020.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, and as they got older, they did the airsoft camp, and it was like a church group that put it on, like right outside of, I think it was outside of Buffalo. So it was like a week camp, and it was, they'd wake up in the morning, they'd do scripture, they go for walks or whatever, and then they would shoot the crap out of each other with airsoft guns, or Nerf guns when they were younger, and they loved it,
I'm trying to monitor the chat, but for the record, Jeremy Hansen does tell us that butt smacking is okay.
Thank you for
And-
monitoring. I can't.
I'm trying to watch them and have to go back through, but I'm also laughing because I guess now's the time to tell everybody that y'all be reading about Melissa and I for getting our Nerf guns confiscated at the airport when we leave for Texas.
Yeah, that's true. Kirk and Jessica better be going too.
Yes.
we're trying.
See,
Right.
that's one of the good things about living in Mississippi. There's a lot of good things, some not so good, but because it is kind of old school, every store you go to, they still say, whether it's a man or a woman behind the counter, "Thank you, sweetheart. Have a blessed day," or "Thank you, honey. Have a blessed day."
Yes.
And I know you can't do that up north.
No,
we
and I
were- we-
miss that.
We were actually talking about that in the meeting today that we had, because it was going through pros and cons and how you're supposed to provide good customer service and stuff like that. And one of the things was you can't say ma'am, because women get offended by it,
Well,
So-
for years being in the South, I called everybody darling. I move up north and I
Right.
get in trouble for it. I mean, some
Well,
people
Mhm.
understand it and don't take offense, but other people are, you can't say that.
well, and I think it's still sliding a little bit to it's more okay for a woman to say it. Thank you, darling. Thank you, thank you, sweetie. Have a good day, sweetie, whatever.
Yes.
As a woman, it's still acceptable, but as a guy,
When I was in classes at USM, Southern Miss, we had one girl complain. It was like before class chat, and she was irate that every time she goes somewhere, people say "Have a blessed day," because I guess she was atheist or I get all the titles confused, but
right, agnostic.
and I was like, what? I mean, even if you don't believe in anything, that is somebody else at least showing you some kind of positive vibes or affection, or just hoping you have a good day. To the person saying it means "Have a blessed day," meaning hope you have a good day.
right.
And people are just nitpicking. I mean, this is not representative of all of Mississippi. It was a college environment.
Probably,
So
yes.
people are trying to argue and fight their way out to be individuals. But so I understand where she was coming from, but it didn't make sense to me, because even if a different religion that I don't believe in, I can't, or I can't even think of one off the top of my head. I'm not Jewish, but if somebody wished me well and, during Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, I would take that as a huge compliment.
And you see that at the holidays, yeah. Where they're like, why do people keep saying Merry Christmas? I'm Jewish. Well, if somebody said Happy Hanukkah to me, I wouldn't be offended.
A
Not
friend
at
of
all.
mine,
I would appreciate it.
no, you have to be comfortable with yourself. If you're not, and the problem is that so many people aren't comfortable with themselves and happy with themselves, so they have to find fault with everything. I have a friend who was Jewish and used to dress up as Santa Claus because his wife and his wife's kids were not. I mean,
Hmm.
and for the Leslie says that she feels old every time someone calls her ma'am. But
No,
I
ma'am
love in the South when a gentleman tips their hat and ma'am, oh my gosh, oh, that's like that melts my heart.
We taught our son ma'am and sir, but also down here you call the elders not necessarily old, but maybe older than you. And I even do this with some younger people. If the next one, if it's Miss Pat, Miss
Yes,
Alexa,
that's
Mr. Gerald, Mr. And it's just a sign of respect. It's
Yeah.
not making me feel old.
And we
but-
did that in our homeschool group
yes.
too.
I do that,
Oh,
Max.
that's good.
Everybody is Miss or everyone is Miss or Mr. And you're Miss Melissa or Miss
Mhm.
Isle Sippy,
Miss Isle Slippy.
So, but no, Max does that and it makes some people uncomfortable. Some people appreciate it,
Mhm.
but others find it awkward and, uncomfortable. But I'm not going to change it because I think it's important. It's something that's important to me, the respect and
I think it shows respect when we go on the rare occasion that we do go back to New England, for vacation and being around my family. They're like, what?
Well, and it's
Miss
a rite
what,
of
ma'am?
passage too. As a
Mhm.
guy, that's a rite of passage when you've worked with whatever, you've always called him Mr. Fennell or whatever,
Mhm.
and you're old enough, and he finally looks at you and goes, you don't have to call me Mr. Fennell anymore. Call me Bob.
Oh,
Then there's
Mr. Slightly Venomous.
right. But then they're seeing your maturity level, and it's, I don't know, it's like when you have your first beer,
Mhm.
your lawnmower
Legally or just among when the guys say it's okay that you're mature enough to handle it.
when you go out hunting with the guys or you're landscaping or whatever, and everybody sits down and has a beer, and you have your first beer, that's like a rite of passage.
I think it's fun to have those cultural rites of packages, rites of passages.
Well, and I think we fear it. I think we grow up teaching our kids that alcohol is bad because you have to be 21 to drink it, and yet we're drinking alcohol. And so then the kids see that and go, well, if I'm not allowed to have it, then then you do what I did, which is, in high school and out of high school, you're drunk behind, Costco, because
well, and that's, yeah, I'm very open with my child about that. He came home from school and that's a school thing. He comes home and he's like, you're going to die. You have to stop drinking. I'm like, okay, we need to talk. And, and he understands, and we talk about responsibility. I don't want to admit that, I'm sure on more than one occasion he has seen me now. One occasion he has seen me. I probably should have stopped one earlier. But I wasn't drunk, but I enjoy a beverage. I don't think it's a problem for my child to see that. I do not like to lose control, and I won't. I don't drink that often. But he remembers the night that I drank on top of cold medicine was a bad idea. I had a drink, and he thinks it's funny, but no, I'm very open with him and honest and talk about it.
You were probably hilarious.
Oh, I was hysterical.
Yeah.
I don't have to drink and I can be hysterical. If you're drinking, I'm funny.
Oh, whatever they gave Jareth when he broke his wrist, he was funny. All them stalking.
Do you guys feel bad when parents YouTube their children on, like the dentist videos? I mean, it's funny, and then at the same time, I'm like, oh, why are you humiliating your kids? Just send it to the family.
The hospital said they put a stop to it. They wouldn't allow parents. They wouldn't allow kids to talk to their parents or let parents in there with cameras because parents were doing just that.
I think
the
it's
social media thing.
funny if it's in within a small group of people. I'm
Mhm.
envisioning at the moment Rocky Stucci videoing, his videos because but people I don't know, you watch that and I'm like, oh. But if it's something shared within a group of people and the people that you're sharing, sometimes it is kind of funny.
Yeah, I don't think it should be on Facebook. I mean,
Yeah, I
there's so many teenagers getting their wisdom teeth pulled and you see them in the passenger seat. And I think it's so humiliating.
Oh, I've had a
because
couple
they're
surgeries that Jessica's had to drive me home from. And yeah, she's explained to me how I've acted.
I think you can take the video. I think taking the video is fine. I just don't think it should be blasted without
Right.
your permission.
Right.
Reality check for me is Max's first iPad when he was little, at not even thinking about realizing that he had a camera and a video on that. One day I got a hold of his iPad and I'm like, what? Because he had it in the car, he would take it places. I'd download stuff for him to watch. I went through his camera and his video and I'm like, oh wow, okay. So mom better pay a little closer attention to when she's having a meltdown in traffic because Max likes to video these.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, they've been erased.
A lot of F-bombs and stuff.
Well,
Might have been one.
and that's the other thing is like we were always very proactive in doing that. So like my kids always had like camcorders and stuff like that so that they could make their own movies. So we have like Lego movies and stuff like that they've made and things that they've done when they were playing with their friends.
Fun. That's what you're supposed to do.
That's freaking hysterical. They have like chasing each other around and like it's hysterical.
Did they
Some
ever
of them are very funny.
video you stepping on a Lego?
No.
Oh, darn. Maybe that's where giving kids all these videos, video recording devices. That's why now they watch videos of people playing video games.
Yes. Yep.
In my house, it's not Legos, it's Green Army Men, because the other night I went out to get something in my bare feet and I took out an entire battle.
Oh, they're still not like Legos though. I mean, Army Men are Army Men. We've all stepped on those, but they are not Legos.
No.
Legos
They
will
still
make
hurt.
you say words that your pastor would be very upset with.
No, shut up.
No.
I know. I just think it's crazy phenomenon or the fad nowadays is to watch YouTube of other people playing games. I was watching something with my kid last weekend. He had it on, but it's from like the Disney Channel or something. It's Ready Player. And they take a bunch of players that are playing a certain game, and I think it was called Way In Over Your Head, and it was kind of addicting to watch because there was somebody editing the video and putting faces and funny memes on it while they were doing it, and I kind of got sucked in, and I can't believe I did. I was like, what? Because it was like this man in a barrel trying to climb all of these obstacles, but when you fall or something happens, the person that edits it makes it really funny. And there's older people, like those old people, like 25, 26. Then there's younger people, like the 10-year-olds, and they're all playing and they're all kind of on the same.
Did you just call 25 and 26-year-olds old? Did I hear that right?
Yes, Chris, you did. So, Geritol, so old man discount.
Leslie said the only thing worse than stepping on a Lego is stepping on a jack. Leslie, you're showing your age now, and you're not that old, sweetie.
My son's never played jacks. I used to love jacks.
Oh, jacks are fun.
Barrel of monkeys, pickup sticks.
They were playing marbles at Cub Scouts recently, which was really cool. They did all the different marble games, and I hadn't seen that in years. And I thought that was something that was really neat.
Pickup sticks, we used to shoot at each other out of pump BB guns. So you'd pump them
that's gonna hurt.
15 times and shoot
You're
them
gonna
out.
take an eye out.
I was gonna say that, Chris.
I have no
You'll
idea
shoot your
how
eye
nobody yeah, I have no idea how nobody lost an eye, but you'd be running around with a pickup stick like sticking out of your leg.
Okay, show of hands. How many people took the igniter out of the grill and built a potato gun?
Oh
Nope,
my
I didn't do
God.
that.
You can't
But
see
we-
my hand, but I did. Also, I blew my eyebrows off of my face at my graduation party from high school with that thing because it wouldn't light and it wouldn't shoot the potato. So I took the end off real quick to look and see if I was getting spark. And I was looking down the where I just sprayed all the WD-40, and and I turned the igniter, and I got spark that time, and this flame engulfed my entire face, and I had no eyebrows for like 2 months.
See the fact. See, this is where I'm ahead of the game. The fact that I have the dumbass and daredevil gene that comes out still to this day. I am ahead of the game with my kid. I'm like, don't even think about it. Been there, done that. Don't even think about it.
Yeah, we made a friend of our kids, also part of the homeschool group. He made a CO2 gun
Oh,
that
cool.
would shoot potatoes.
So Chris, real quick, when you lost your eyebrows, did you pencil them back in for 2 months?
Yeah, absolutely. No.
I want pictures.
No. When I was like a sophomore in high school one time though, I took a razor and I carved out just a small niche on the one side so that when I turned my head sideways, that eyebrow looked like an exclamation point. And whenever anybody asked me
Chris.
what I was doing, I said, I'm making a statement. And I turned my head sideways so it looked like an exclamation point.
That's where Jason Momoa got it from.
It must be.
My goodness.
It must be. No, I don't think he
Oh.
ever saw a picture of that because I've burned them all.
I think you're his hero. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had a friend of the family, an older friend of the family, who plucked her eyebrows all out and then drew them in. I think she was 60 when I knew her.
Yeah,
So-
they used to do that.
Right. And hers never grew back. So we actually had a tattoo party where we all got tattoos, and she actually got eyebrows tattooed on so that she wouldn't have to continue to draw them on. and she was like 60, I think 67 or whatever when she had it done at the tattoo party, but that was funny.
Yeah, the older ladies back in my neighborhood used to do the same thing. And there's a place right behind the Walmart I go to. It's a permanent makeup, it's called, where they just tattoo on makeup. And I don't know the extent of it, but I know there's
It
eyeliner
hurts.
and eyebrows, but I don't know what else.
It hurts.
I can't imagine getting a tattoo underneath my eyeball. Like,
I've watched it. I
It's
don't have it.
weird.
I've watched it.
they should have some of those guys that can't grow facial hair correctly and do the
Oh my
stash.
goodness.
We are so off track right now.
Yes, we are
I
wrong
was just
show,
gonna
but
say,
hey,
we were on the different show.
having
We
fun.
had a woman on Twitter that just had something else tattooed.
Yeah, you got about a minute and a half left before the music.
Yeah. So how old do your kids have tattoos, Kirk?
No.
Do they
Nope.
want any?
I think our oldest has thought about it or whatever, but we've always explained to him too, I mean, you want to understand it's going to be permanent or it's going to be a pain to take it off, but like
Yeah.
I think I have 7 tattoos.
Do you
And-
think
and they're
there
all
should
pretty
be an
small.
age? Do you think there should be the 18 age, or do you think it would be appropriate for a parent to get their
I'm
15-year-old
too
tattooed?
libertarian to think that there should be a law.
I am
No.
shocked at how many people I work with whose kids have tattoos that are still like in junior high. It just blows me away that
Are you serious? Junior high?
yes,
Well,
that the
and
parents are okay with this and think, it's not. That blows me away. That's a permanent thing.
Max is gonna have one on his forearm with the heart. That's his mom in it.
with the
No,
arrow.
Anybody see that fanboy in the Facebook chat? All talking about how much he loves this show and it's his
Yeah.
favorite show.
Who is it? I can't see the Facebook at all. I can't
Sean
see it.
something or other.
It's our other. It's the other.
Is the
It's
show
the guy
his
who's
favorite
missing this
show?
evening.
Oh, the other
Shauniford.
quarter.
Shauniford, the artist formerly known as
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy.
Yes.
Get a job, bro. Get a job, you bum.
More names than a Spanish poet.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad everybody got to join us tonight. I had a good time, even though Sean wasn't here.
Good
See
luck
you next
tomorrow,
week.
Sean.
Thank you, Chris, for all your
Thanks,
help.
y'all.
Good luck, Sean.
Sometimes I feel the fear of uncertainty stinging clear, and I can't help but ask myself how much I let the fear take the wheel and steer.
We clear?